G'day folks, welcome to Four-Wheel Drive Action's YouTube channel once again, and this is the episode you've all been asking for and waiting very patiently for. You see, today we're going to go in depth. We're going behind the scenes with Shorty. We're going right back to the beginning when I first bought the old truck and every modification I've done since. I'm going to go through some memories and I'm going to answer a whole heap of questions that you folks have put up on social media about the old rig. So folks, I always say it, grab yourself something cold out of the fridge, sit down in your favourite chair and let's get stuck into just why this little truck right here is one that I will never sell. Rightio, let's go right back to the very beginning, and I've got a few photos that I want to share with you and I think you'll find them quite interesting. Let's start with, where did I buy Shorty? How did it all happen? Well, I was looking for a short wheelbase vehicle because I just reckon they look tough. I like the look of them and there's something different. You don't see TD42 GQ Patrols in a short wheelbase format on the roads terribly often these days, and that was something I knew back then and I just wanted one. So I picked up Shorty for an absolute steal. You see, the old bus only had 84,000 kilometres on it. Now have a look at this photo that I've got here. That was Shorty when I bought it. When I say stock as a rock, she was absolutely immaculate. There wasn't a scratch, a dent on it, and I don't believe it had ever been put in four-wheel drive. You see, Shorty is what we call an import Safari GQ. Basically, exactly the same as any other GQ out there, except it arrived in Australia as a 24-volt vehicle. And that has brought with it a few of its own challenges. I've overcome those these days, but we'll get to that in a minute. So Shorty landed in my driveway with 84,000 kilometres on it, absolutely stock as a rock. In the next year, I did some absolute basics to it. Really basic stuff. I didn't go too far at all. I upgraded to 33s, I put a bit of a suspension lift on it, I put some old spotlights on the front and my old camper trailer on the back, and with those modifications and none more, I'm not even joking, I didn't even have a dual battery system, and the fridge I used was an old gas fridge. That's right, I had to carry a gas bottle and light a little flame in the bottom of the fridge every time I wanted a cold beer. It really was very bog basic, but here's the facts of the matter. With that setup, I travelled all around Australia for 13 months in this old girl. No winch, no fancy lighting on the front, no recovery systems. That was it, and I did every track that I wanted to do and had an absolute blast in doing it. I even took with me a hand winch, and trust me when I say, after you've used a hand winch once, you'll never do it again. So when I got back from this big trip around Australia, I was enthused, I was pumped up. I realised that it was photography that I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and so I started out with $100 in my pocket, this old truck here, a camera and a swag, and I went and chased every photographic opportunity around Western Australia that I possibly could. Then I got a gig with a little magazine called Australian Four-Wheel Drive Action, and that's when things really took off for me from a photographic sense. Shorty and I spent a whole heap of time travelling all over Western Australia, shooting so much stuff for that magazine, from custom trucks to travel features to just about anything to do with four wheels and low range. And it really was the best time of my life. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was during that time that I started to add some more serious mods to the truck to make my life in the bush just that little bit easier. I'm talking a set of homemade drawers in the back. They were pretty rickety, but by goodness, they stayed in there for years and years and they did the job. Now, one of the best mods I did back then was to build a fridge cage around my fridge. You see, I used to carry tripods down the side. And every time I pulled the fridge out, the tripods would fall down behind it, meaning I couldn't push the fridge back in. It used to give me the irrits. So that fridge cage, to this day, is still one of the best mods I've ever done in Shorty. You see, old Shorty was really starting to take shape, and when I look back at most of the photos from that era, what I really start to notice is that most things we put on had to be built because I didn't have any money to buy them. Looking at an old dodgy bull bar that we put on the front, I gotta say, that thing, don't know how it even passed muster, but it did for several years. I did run some beadlocks for a while there, and even those were custom made by my mates at Perth 4x4 right back in the day. Everything, from the fridge slide, from the fridge cage, to the bull bar at the front, to even my beadlocks, was all custom made back then. But have a look at the photos of old Shorty in the glory days. Doesn't she look like a beast? Nothing compared to today, but I gotta say, for a bloke that was earning no money, living the dream, traveling Australia, taking photos of four-wheel drives, I gotta say, she was my pride and joy and still is to this day. I reckon Shorty is one of the most unique four-wheel drives getting around today for two distinct reasons. First and foremost, well, look at it. It's a short wheelbase and it's got everything a big truck's got in it, but in a short wheelbase body. The second reason is it's 24 volt, but let's get onto that in 2 minutes. Alrighty, let's have a look at some of the favourite mods I've done to Shorty over the years. And first and foremost, I'm gonna have to say, sticking a turbo on the old girl. You see, when I bought it, she was naturally aspirated. And as we all know, a TD42 naturally aspirated is like a brick with wheels on it. She had no power at all. And let's just remember, I went around Australia for 13 months towing a camper trailer with this thing naturally aspirated. I think once on the Nullarbor going downhill with a tailwind, I think I hit 90 kilometres per hour, but up until then, she was pretty darn slow. So oh gee whiz, several years ago we put a dirty old turbo on the side of this thing and kept it really lean. I'm talking about 8 psi of boost going up it, and we really didn't do much to it in way of tuning it. We just got it to a point where I was getting about 100 kilowatts at the wheels, and that was enough for me. And because of that, because I've kept that just so low down and reliable, doesn't get hot ever, so you can't call it a kettle. EGTs, 400 is about as high as it'll ever go, and it just has remained so reliable with that turbo on it. But it has meant that I can go up hills now in 5th gear. I don't have to go back down to 3rd, and that's all I ever really wanted. Like I said, it's got everything in it that a big 4-wheel drive's got in it. Dual battery system. It's got a fridge. Another modification I absolutely love, and it's only come about pretty recently, is the King's drawers in the back. You see, the way we've put those in is that I've got 2 hidden compartments at the front, then full-length drawers at the back, and it gives me so much storage. Another thing I love about them is that I've actually mounted a fridge slide on top of the slide on the drawer, so that means that I can bring my fridge out doubly as far. You'll notice I haven't got a fridge in there at the moment because it's in the big GU, because I am packing up to head away on a big trip in that truck, so I've had to take it out of here. But you can see the fridge cage here, you can see exactly where the fridge would go, and you can see how well it works when I pull this fridge slide out. Of course, I've got a water system in here as well. I can carry 20 odd litres of water. I also put drinking water in there. It's got a table that folds down. It has literally got everything. Down the side, I've got space for all my tripods. I carry recovery gear in the front. Of course, there's camp lights. Roof rack up on top, of course, carries jerry cans, gas bottles. I've also got storage up there for more things. I can fit a swag if I need to. So like I said, it's a short wheelbase vehicle, but it has got absolutely everything in it that a big truck's got. That did take a little bit of thinking, but once you get your head around it, I tell you what, pretty proud of the way I've put the old girl together. Now, what else makes it unique is that 24-volt system. And one thing that I've used over the years that has blown me away how well it works is rigging up the winch to work through a 24-volt system. You see, I've had the Dominator X on this bad boy here for more years than I can count, and it has run 24-volt through it the entire time with 0 issues. The real key to running a 24-volt system through your winch is to only ever use it on 24-volt when the winch is under load. That means when you're winching yourself out of a bog, hit 24-volt and away you go. But when you're re-spooling the cable back on and there's no load, switch back to 12-volt. Now, like I say, I've had that Dominator on there for absolutely years with 0 issue to it, but running a 24-volt winch on there, it's like a comp truck. It works unbelievably. Another really unique little modification I've made to Shorty, or another feature of Shorty that gets tongues wagging a lot, is my electrical pod on the front. You see, I always had this dream in my head that I wanted to be able to control almost everything electrical in Shorty from just one area that I can reach while sitting in the driver's seat. And so this pod in the front does just that. From here I can turn the spotlights on and off, of course. I can operate my winch from 12 to 24 volt. I can turn my air compressors on. I can turn everything. My fridge can be turned on from here, in fact. I can turn the fridge on and off from the front. And it works an absolute treat. And I've never actually seen anything quite like it before. This was actually done by a mate of mine up in Perth. Lee, we haven't caught up for a beer in a long time, mate. We really ought to. Thank you so much for the work you did on old Shorty back in the day. And it still remains reliable and a useful feature to this very day. Another modification, you see, I get asked all the time if I'm ever going to go back to running 35s. Truth is, folks, I've never run 35s except for once for 4 days whilst filming for 4-wheel drive action. So how long have I owned this? Over a decade, and I've never run 35s on there. I've always just had the Bridgestone Jeweler MTs in size 285/75 R16, which of course is 33s. Would I go to 35s? Yeah, maybe one day, but only really for the look of it, because I reckon she'd look even tougher with 35s. But I've never actually run 35s on the old girl, but quality rubber, that's been a top modification in my personal opinion. Another modification that I really like, you probably don't even know that I've got in there, is my rollover protection system, or roll cage, that I've got in there. The whole idea behind it is that it provides a crush zone between the bull bar and the top of the vehicle so that I don't get hurt if the vehicle does roll over on a steep hill. All right, look, it wouldn't be a video about Shorty if I didn't mention the time I managed to put it on its side. It really was one of those situations where I just ran out of talent. You see, I was tackling a little tiny hill, couldn't get up at the first time, and I decided just to reverse back down and have another go at it. But I didn't look in the rear view mirror, I didn't even check where I was, and I just reversed off the edge of a lip, tipped it onto a side. Now, it sucked because I hadn't actually had Shorty in 4-wheel drive for more than a couple of hours that day, and prior to that, she was immaculate. We'd just done the body swap on it. So there you are, I was out for half a day, I put it on its side and dented the entire driver's side. It sucked, and it stayed that way, looking really used for about a year, until finally, just recently, we had that side fully panel beaded and resprayed, and now she is looking tickety-boo once again. So it was a silly thing to do, but it has led to Shorty looking the way she does now, and that, if you ask me, is pretty darn good for an old truck like this one here. All right, so what about future modifications for the old girl? Well, I've got to say, I'm pretty happy with the way she is right now, and there's nothing major I'd get done except for two things. One's a luxury, one is not. And that is, first and foremost, the electrics in the old girl. Well, they're a little bit how you go, and you see, she's a long time on the road, and there's been a lot of people put their grubby mitts under there trying to fix the electrics, and it's kind of a mess of wires and bits and pieces in there. So I'd love to get it somewhere, get the electrics sorted, and really have that so it's 100% reliable. And the other thing is a bit more of a, well, it's a want, not a need. The side windows on the old girl, I've always dreamed about having them on hinges so that I can open them up to access the rear of the vehicle without having to come through the back. Like I say, that's only a bit of a dream, but otherwise, I don't know, look at the old girl. There's not much more I want to do to her except get in there as often as I can and go bush. Of course though, folks, you've all got four-wheel drives at home and you've all got lists of modifications. If you owned Shorty, heaven forbid, if you owned Shorty, what would be the next modification you could see yourself doing to the old bus? Put it in the comments below. I'll have a look, because you might just come up with an idea and I'll think to myself, why didn't I think of that? And I'll go and get it done. So put it in the comments below and I'll see what you think I should do next. I often get asked, when building up Shorty, what did I do that I wouldn't do now? And is there anything that I would change? Look, I don't think it's just short wheelbase specific what I'm going to say next, but there's a few things, and one that I really would sort of urge you to look at is, if you've got something in your heart that you want to do to your four-wheel drive, don't do it in steps. Well, let me try and explain that. You see, I'm of the mindset these days that just do it once and do it right. So when it came to putting the turbo on this, what I did before it was put a set of extractors on there. Now, had I known what I know now, I would have saved the money on the extractors and I wouldn't have put them on. I would have gone straight to the turbo, because putting the extractors on, whilst it was a stepping stone to the turbo, was just money spent that I didn't need to put into it. They made a little bit of difference, but not much. I should have just put that money straight into a turbo. So I guess if I was to do it again, I'd sit down and I'd really think about what I want to use the vehicle for, what my budget is, and then just do it. I wouldn't kind of do it in steps, because I think you kind of waste a bit of money by doing that. So that's something I've learnt when it comes to building up four-wheel drives. Save your money, know what it is you want to do with the four-wheel drive, and then just go out and build it. By doing it in steps, it's kind of more affordable at the time, but you're sort of wasting the money in the steps that you're doing it, if that makes sense. And that's what I would do next time. I'd build this up by looking at a picture of what I want to do, and just go out and do it. So we put a post up on social media just recently asking you folks if you've got any questions about the old rig here. Now, to say we were inundated with questions is an understatement, so I can't answer them all, but I'll pick a representative few at random right now, and we'll just see how we go. So the first one I come to here is by, Brownie Petroleum. How many kilometres has the old girl got, and is it still the original engine? That's a really good question. I don't know how many Ks it's got on the clock, because the odometer stopped working when the fuel gauge stopped working. So I'm going to guess that when it stopped it was around 388,000, and yes, it is still the original TD42. I changed the oils across the board every 5,000 Ks, or filters get done every 5,000 Ks. Like I said, I don't have much boost up the old girl. EGTs are low, she doesn't get hot. It's slow, but it's reliable, and I reckon that engine will go for a long time yet. Touch wood, touch wood. Rightio, let's get another one done. At random, I'm just picking these at random. We got Seth_B9. Do you ever wish Shorty was 12 volt and not 24 volt? Great question, yes. In the early days when I really didn't understand how 24 volt worked and the benefits of it, yeah, I did wish it was 12. But now, see, what you got to realise is that Australia is one of the few places that actually runs 12 volt vehicles, because the rest of the world, America, Europe, most of the bigger trucks, the big diesels anyway, are 24 volt. So you can get everything for them. And 24 volt means you can have some pretty dodgy wiring, and that's exactly what's in this bad boy. So no, nowadays, 24 volt for me all the way. Okay, folks, next question here. I'm just totally at random here. We've got Josh_Dardo. Josh_Dardo. Cracking question, mate. In fact, I like this question so much. Get in touch with me. You've just won yourself a snatch cap, mate. Okay, the question is, never go this one. What is your fondest, and he's got in brackets here, child-friendly, your fondest child-friendly memory in Shorty? Look, without a doubt, I touched on this briefly on the last video we did, but it was the time I drove Shorty across the Simpson Deserts in the flood. Well, this is just absolutely unbelievable. Water's knee deep. There is no such thing as a road. I swear I'm driving down a river. This is totally unexpected out here. Now look, it was super hard on the vehicles. Now, there were vehicles being left out there due to electrical problems. There were vehicles being taken out of the Simpson on trucks. Shorty had her own problems to deal with. I had no alternator, I had no starter motor. All sorts of things were going wrong in there. But here's the thing, from the beginning all the way through to the end, she got me home. We had some issues, no starter motor, no alternator. I had to run, as I mentioned before, a generator on the roof, but the old girl refused, simply refused to die and leave me stranded. You see, that's the thing. To this day, she's never, ever let me down, and that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love this truck. I know for a fact I could jump in this right now and drive around Australia. It might not be pretty, but she would do it, and that is a reason why I absolutely love Shorty. But that memory of struggling to get home across the Nullarbor and the old girl, thinking she's going to die any minute, but she just refused to, is my fondest memory and the reason why I'll never get rid of her. Next question, it comes from Jacob10291. Will you ever sell it? Mate, here's the thing. Shorty has got so much of a backstory, so many memories and so much history for me that I just, unless I fell on serious hard times, could never sell her. And you know what? I want to keep her so that when they're not making diesel anymore and when everybody's driving electric cars, I'm going to chug down the beach in this old girl running on fish and chip oil. There's going to be a plume of smoke out the back that smells like snapper and chips. And I'm going to park up down there and people are going to go, what on earth is that? Because I reckon in 2050, 2060, this old girl will still be going strong. I might not, but this old girl will still be going strong. So no, mate, I will never sell Shorty. Next question comes from a bloke by the name of Strange Plant. When are you going to get the bloody fuel gauge fixed? Well, I'll tell you what, there's something about it that's just leading me to say I'm not going to get it fixed. You know, it's a pride thing. I've got this far, I've got jerry cans on the roof, and I reckon I might just keep going with the old, I think I've got fuel technique, and run out every now and again and get stranded on the side of the road and have to put a jerry can of fuel in. But yeah, I'll get it fixed. I just haven't got around to it yet. It's one of those on the to-do list, mate. Folks, we've got time for one more question here, and it comes from Mark Scree. And Mark asks, and it's quite a fitting question to close on, why is Shorty your favourite four-wheel drive, and why has she got a special place in your heart? Look, this is going to sound cliched, but Shorty is so much more than just a car to me. It's backstory. The reason it's sitting here today and the reason I'm sitting here in front of this camera is because of this truck here. The places it's taken me all around Australia several times, the memories I've had and the people I've met whilst being in this four-wheel drive. The reason for me even doing this job is because of this four-wheel drive. So, as cliched as it does sound, when I look at that little truck there, it really is so much more than just a car to me. It's a change of career, it's a whole lifestyle, and for me, it is an entire four-wheel drive experience unlike any other. I could go out tomorrow and buy another four-wheel drive and it'd probably be bigger, probably be better. It'd smell a whole lot better, I know that, but it wouldn't be Shorty. It wouldn't come with the backstory, it wouldn't come with the memories, and it certainly wouldn't have got me where I am today. And it's so for that reason that Shorty is without a doubt my favourite four-wheel drive and always will remain so no matter what I own in the future. Folks, look, I want to say a big thank you for watching this episode, and I hope I've given you a look behind the scenes of this old rig right here, its backstory and why it means so much to me. Leave a comment down below, especially if you own a TD42 short wheelbase, and we'll see you next time on 4-Wheel Drive Action.